Hello and welcome to this week's The Nerd Man podcast. I'm going to be talking about free-to-play games and pay-to-win games. So previously I talked about early access games and how I think they are negatively affecting the gaming industry. And this week is kind of the same, but a different topic. I'm going to be, as I said, talking about free-to-play games and pay-to-win games. So I guess let's start off with sort of defining what those games are. Free-to-play games, if you don't know, are games that are just that, free to play. They're typically app games that you would play on your phone or whatever, but they are free. But to make them free, oftentimes there's things that happen in the background, such as ads that run while you're playing the game, or perhaps microtransactions, as they call them, which are in-app purchases, things to help you get through the game or expand your game, or maybe even unlock levels, things like that. Now, pay-to-win games is another term. Typically, they're free-to-play games also, but oftentimes what it is that you pay to get a boost of some sort in the game that actually helps you win versus what they call grinding, which is playing a game over and over and over again to get that thing that you can just pay for. Now, the reasons why I don't like them is because of their sort of payment model, their business model. Of course, we all love free, but free is never really free. There are some games out there that you can play and have fun with for free, but most games that are free to play have some sort of catch to it, some sort of negative side, and that negative side is often the money side. And I'm not against paying for a game that you're having fun with. In fact, I'd prefer to pay for a game. But what I don't like is how much these people charge you for these kind of in-app purchases and stuff. So I guess what I want to get into is sort of, again, go back in time where games used to be complete experiences from the beginning. When you bought them, they were complete. You got the game, you paid for it, and you got everything in the game typically. And where the free-to-play stuff comes in is you kind of get the game, but some things oftentimes need to be unlocked by purchasing something, or you don't get all the boosts or different things. And so I guess what I don't like nowadays is that you don't get that complete experience. Let me give you an example of a game. Well, let's see. So you have games like, that you full on purchase and you get the game. Let's just say, Tomb Raider or something. You buy that game and you get the whole game. You play through it. Now, we're not talking about downloadable content, and that might be another topic I discuss in the future. But overall, you get a complete experience. You can play through the game and enjoy it. You don't have to buy anything extra. You pay the one price and it's done. Now, on mobile type games, free-to-play games, for instance, take, for example, let's just say Candy Crush. Now, Candy Crush you can play and kind of have an experience with it, but you're sort of restricted and limited because you have sort of this life bar, or how many lives you have, how many times you can fail at a stage or whatever, and then you have to wait for that timer to go and refill your lives, or you can pay to have your lives refilled and keep playing the game and having fun with it. So that's sort of the difference that I see, but that leads me into the grind. I mentioned the grind before, and what grinding is basically you're just over and over doing something repetitively. Oftentimes in role-playing games, you're grinding to gain experience and build your character up to get to that higher level. And they call it the grind because that's just it. It's a grind. It often is something tedious and boring, and that you have to do repetitively over and over and over again to achieve the goal that you want. And now there are games that you have to pay for that have the grind in it, and there are free to play games that have the grind. But the grind in free to play games and pay to win games are just so much more worse. You think you're having fun until you realize it's going to take me an eternity to achieve that goal unless I want to pay for it. So there's sort of an illusion behind these free to play games and pay to win games that you can do this for free, but it's going to take you an eternity to do it. So you may as well just pay to do it. And that sort of leads me to the value versus cost on these games. There's in-app purchases of like $100 to buy, say, some sort of in-game currency or something that you need to gain experience with, or purchase new items for something. Each game is different. I've been playing Monster Castle lately. It's a new game, I think, and it's pretty fun, and it walks a fine line between that sort of, it's a free-to-play game, but the pay-to-win model is usually the one that is more frustrating to deal with. In fact, I'm getting off track here, but I want to, I guess, share a little bit of story, because there was a game I played once in the past called Hero Tactics, I think, something like that. Heroes Tactics. I don't know. It was sort of a Final Fantasy Tactics styled game, but in a mobile game, and it was much faster paced, and a little less on strategy. There was still some strategy, but the battles took much shorter times than Final Fantasy Tactics would, or whatever. A couple minutes versus half an hour or whatever. But that game, I had a lot of fun. And when you start it, and these games do this, when you start the game, they pull you in with the theme of it, the gameplay, and they give you a lot of things right away for free to pull you in. But as you go on, you begin to realize, oh, I can't really advance very far, and I have to really play this, and it becomes boring to get anywhere in the game and feel like you're accomplishing anything unless you pay. And oftentimes I will pay a little. I'll pay a little bit of money for these games, but it's when I start to realize, oh, I need to pay $20, $30, $50, $100 to really get anywhere in these games. That's when I start to not like these games. You don't pay $100 to get a regular game. Sorry, for those that are listening, there's a giant fly flying around, and it maybe on the video you can see it. Distracted. Anyways, moving on. That's just it. I normally pay very little for games because I get it on Steam sales and things like that. I hardly ever pay full price for a game anymore. But full price is $60 usually. And oftentimes you can get deals even on brand new games to get them cheaper. If you're like an Amazon Prime customer, you can get them for much cheaper. But you're asking me to pay $100 on an in-app purchase to gain a little experience boost or gain a little in-game money, and that's just it. It's just a little. Oftentimes you could probably blow through that in one sitting in a few minutes, and then you're left with like, oh, I need to buy more, and you can make another $100 purchase. I mean, frankly, if I'm going to make a $100 purchase, I better have everything in that game. Another game that's free to play that's not an app game, I started playing with some friends. It's called Neverwinter, and I was playing it on the PlayStation 4. It's free to play. It's a MMO RPG, and it's okay. It's free to play. You can play through it, and I don't necessarily feel like I need to purchase anything. There's some aesthetic type purchases you can make, that you can make your character look better, or you get mounts in the games, and you can get a cooler looking one. And I might be, inclined to buy something like that if it was a couple bucks or something. but they literally have an entire race in the game that you can unlock, and it costs $80 to unlock just that race. You don't get any in-game money or currency, which is a whole nother purchasing system. Again, upwards of $100 if you want to buy a lot of it. I mean, you could spend literally thousands of dollars on this game. I find no value in that. Now, some argue that, well, if it's a game you really love and you're going to play for a long time, who cares how much money you spend on it? Well, I guess I do. I mean, that's the answer. I do care how much money I spend on it because I don't think a game is worth that much. If I start spending about $100 on a game, I've pretty much hit the peak of what I want to spend on that game. And at that point, I feel like I should have everything the game has to offer. Which in this day and age, going back to that DLC type stuff, is you can buy a game for $60 and get a season pass with all the bonus content they're going to add to it later for an additional 30, or sometimes you can get it for 20 or whatever. So you're going to pay about $80 to $90 for the full experience for a brand new game these days. And that's something I can handle, I guess. I mean, if I really wanted to, if I really loved a game, but that's just it. I want that full experience, these free-to-play and pay-to-win models. And the sad thing is they're gaining ground in the gaming industry because so many people play phone games, apps and stuff on their phones. It's the new model. Nobody really wants to pay for an app on their phone anymore, so they give all the games are designed to be free to play. I mean, they want you to perpetually play them because they don't want you to just play it and quit playing it. That's not going to gain them money or whatever. So I think it's sort of ruining games because it's seeping over into that sort of console computer type gaming area of people are starting to charge more and more and more for things, and there's less and less value in it. And I don't see that going anywhere good. I don't find the games fun usually, but I'm gonna say there are a couple of fun ones. So I did mention Candy Crush, cliche, old one, classic, but they've really expanded on it, and I have not paid a dime on that game, and I've played it quite a bit. But if you are careful, you can gain some of the power-ups and things over time, and you can even get unlimited time. They've really advanced the game currently to the point where you really don't have to pay for it to enjoy it. And for that, I actually do like it. I appreciate it that they've allowed you to have fun with it. Now, it is still restrictive. You can run out of lives and things and have to wait for that to recharge. But, sometimes I think, well, maybe that means you should quit playing anyways. So that's a quick pickup game that's free to play that I think has an actual value to it that I've actually yet to pay for anything. Now, Angry Birds, that's one of my all-time classic favorites. That started off as basically free to play. You got the whole game, no questions asked. They just had ads running in the game, and you could pay $1 to get rid of the ads. I paid that dollar so fast, got rid of those ads, enjoyed the game for years and years. Now they've sort of switched it up with Angry Birds 2 and really pushed it towards that free-to-play and pay-to-win model, and I don't like Angry Birds 2 very much. I, in fact, go back and play the original Angry Birds more than I do any of the new stuff because of that model. They gave you the game before, and you could have fun with it. They've added stuff to it over time, power-ups and different things you can do, but you don't really need any of that to have fun with it. And again, this Monster Castle game I bought, well, actually I didn't buy it, it's free to play, but it actually works. You do have to wait for things to finish. You build up this castle, defensive structures and buildings and rooms and things. You have to wait, but I guess I've set my mind to, I'm just going to play it, build those things, wait for the time, and I can play a game like Candy Crush or Angry Birds in the meantime and wait for it. Now, you can spend a ton of money on it, so it walks a fine line. It's right on the edge of, I'm not sure I find the value in it versus there is some value to it. So I guess to wrap it up this week, I just don't for the most part, find a value in these games or the purchases they want you to make. I think it's ruining the gaming industry along with the early access stuff. We're getting to a point where people are okay with buggy games and they're okay to apparently spend hundreds and thousands of dollars on these free-to-play games to try to win them and whatever and move on. And I don't think that's right. I think you should get complete experiences in games, and you shouldn't have to. If you're going to pay $100, you should get everything that game has to offer in it. So sound off in the comments. Let me know what you guys think about free-to-play games and pay-to-win games. Do you like them? Do you find value in them? What's the most money you've ever spent? Me personally, I think on that Heroes Tactics game I was telling you about, I think I spent like $25 on the game before I was like, whoa, I'm not getting the value in this game. It was $15 to $25. I don't remember what, but I did spend some money on it. And then I realized I was basically wasted my money on it. So that sort of annoyed me and makes me more cautious in the future to invest in any of these mobile games, or they're even MMOs and games on the PCs and consoles and things. So let me know. Well, how much have you paid? Do you think there's value in it? Talk to me on social media, in the comments, or wherever. And if you're watching on YouTube, subscribe, and you'll be able to see when I release another Nerdman podcast. And if you're listening on some sort of audio version, then I will see you next time. And also, just to let you know, I'm going to be starting to probably release these every 2 weeks. I'm just having a hard time coming up with topics and things, so I'm going to stagger them out a little bit, especially as we're getting closer to the holiday season here. If you guys ever have any suggestions on comments on topics that you'd like me to talk about, definitely leave them in the comments or communicate that to me, and I will definitely consider it if you'd like to hear my opinions on something. And as always, keep YouTubing it up, and I will see you later.